welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my July wrap-up. July turned out to be a pretty successful reading month. I was kind of surprised at the way it all kind of came together and worked out. I had a hard time mentally in July, and so I had very low expectations for my reading. But then towards the end, it all just sort of picked up and I kind of knocked everything out super early, which was unexpected. So, you know, I have that going for me at least. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into the stats of this video. I read a total of 21 books. For pages, I read 5,273 pages. I did read quite a few books with my eyes instead of audiobooks, I feel like. For hours listened, it was 66 hours and 18 minutes, which is the equivalent of 2 days, 18 hours and 18 minutes. My average rating for the month was a 3.8, so not incredible, but not bad either. It was what it was, you know? I feel like I had a lot of 3-star reads this month, and they weren't horrible, but they just were, you know? My average pages per day was 210.9, which is way higher than usual. Usually it's between 100 and 150 pages, so 210 is kind of a lot. I don't know what I was doing. Apparently reading a lot with my eyes. My average hours listened per day was 7 hours, 4 minutes, and 40 seconds, and I reread a total of 5 books. For the formats of those books, 14 of them were physical, 1 of them was digital, 6 of them were audiobooks. For the audiences, 14 of them were adult, 5 of them were young adult, and 2 of them were middle grade. 1 of them was a graphic novel, a middle grade graphic novel, that I know for sure. For pages, 1 of them was less than 100 pages, 1 of them was between 101 and 200 pages, 2 of them were between 201 and 300 pages, 7 of them were between 301 and 400 pages, 2 were between 401 and 500 pages, and 2 were between 501 and 600 pages. I don't read a lot of like hella long books, so I'm kind of surprised at the 2 that are between such high page counts. That's very unusual for me, so like shout out to me, I guess. For the genres this month, 8 of them were fantasy, 8 of them were horror, 7 of them were horror, 2 of them were fiction, general fiction, 2 of them were nonfiction, 1 was thriller, and 1 was sci-fi. And on to my favorite part of the video, which is where I tell you about my favorite books this month and also my least favorite book this month. I've also started writing this down in another part of my notebook because I want to be able, when I do my bracket wars at the end of the year, I want to be able to not have to hunt this information down. So my top books this month, I can actually give you 5. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, which was one of the rereads this month. It also has its own video where I reread all 4 of the Hunger Games books in 24 hours. Ironically, right along the 4th of July. But of the 4, The Hunger Games is truly the best book of the 4 of them, and I enjoyed it the most. I feel like it just encapsulates so much of the beginning of a revolution without it getting too in-depth politically and starting to lose me a little bit. I don't know how to explain that, but there's that. The second was Once Broken Faith by Shauna Maguire. This was like 10th, 11th book in the October Day series. I'm not going to get into it, but it was one of the best ones that I read in the October Day series. The third one was kind of a surprise because I picked this up at the library with very little information, and that was How to Be Eaten by Maria Adelman. The reviews on this are kind of mixed when I looked at the reviews on Goodreads, but for me personally, I felt that it was a really good discussion of women and their trauma and how we consume their trauma like content, like we literally consume them. And it is a fairy tale retelling without being a fairy tale retelling. Now, if you're somebody who wants all of the answers to all of your questions, you may not love this book. Yes, you do get answers to the general plot line, but there are sometimes things that don't necessarily make sense. So you might not enjoy that part. There are some stories here that are more graphic and gory than the others. But I think that that kind of fits because it is fairy tale retelling of several different fairy tales, and some of them are more gory and some of them are not. some of them are nonsensical and some of them make sense. And it's also because these each have different narrators as well. And I think being able to do that was kind of incredible. And I think that this book was honestly incredible. One of my favorites this month for sure. The fourth top book is Gustavo el Fantasmito Temido by Flavia Z. Drago, which is a middle grade graphic novel that I read that was in Spanish. So I have been studying Spanish for about a year, and I want to work on reading Spanish books eventually, but right now I'm sticking with graphic novels. It's a little bit easier because with the pictures I have context. But this book was so cute, and because my Spanish is not like incredible, as I was reading it, I was like slowly uncovering the story very, very slowly, like one word at a time. And I was like, no, as I was putting a sentence together. It was a lot of fun to do it that way though, and I think I'm gonna pick another one up for August because it gives me words that I need to learn and sentence structure that I need to do better about understanding, because Duolingo does not do a good job at teaching you sentence structure. And it kind of made me more excited about reading Spanish and learning more Spanish, so yeah. And the last of the top 5 is going to be Graveyard of the Lost Children by Katrina Monroe. If you watched my top books of the year, or not top, what? No, 2023 releases that I'm excited for, I think it was the horror books specifically. If you look at that video, I talk about this book because I like Katrina Monroe's writing a lot. I was kind of excited about this one. It also has the actress who played Matilda read the audiobook, which was kind of fun. I didn't even realize this book had officially come out, but it showed up in my library and I was like, oh, fuck yeah. And so I checked it out because it didn't even have a hold, so whatever. And it was surprisingly really good. I didn't really know, like I knew what to expect because I'd read the summary, but I didn't know in the end how it was all going to tie together. But I had a lot of fun reading it. That's a fucked up thing to say about this book, but I did have a lot of fun reading it. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. Now on to the worst book of the month, which honestly, it shouldn't be a surprise to me. And probably not a surprise to y'all if you've seen me talk about the Hunger Games at all, but that's going to be The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. Now, I've read this now with fresher, more educated eyes than when I first read this book. When I first read this book, it put me in a very long reading slump. This time I read it before I read the Hunger Games series because I wanted to see the connections between the two a little bit more easily, so I wrote things down that I thought were interesting or things that I vaguely remembered happening in the other books, whatever. And my thoughts on this are that it still seemingly wanted me to pity Snow or to come from a place of understanding with his background, and I didn't. I didn't pity him, I didn't give a fuck about him. I actually would have preferred to read about Tigris, even, his cousin. I actually would have preferred to read about the fucking scientists who came up with all the fucked up monsters in the Hunger Games, the mutants and stuff. I would have rather read about them. Unfortunately, we read about Snow and his come to power, and I didn't give a fuck. And this book is so fucking long. So in the general Hunger Games series, the Hunger Games start within 150 pages of the book, and then they take up the majority of the book, and then there's like 150 pages of like the rest. Maybe 100 pages of the rest of the aftermath, whatever. The Hunger Games is a blip in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It is a literal blip because we are focused on Snow's love story with this girl from District 12. And I don't give a fuck. Oh, he's jaded and that's why he's a bad person. I don't give a fuck. Most men are that way. Like, whatever. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. That storyline does nothing for me. I do not feel pity, empathy, whatever for Snow. I don't give a fuck that a girl betrayed him and this happened to him or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a single fuck. I don't care that his family's dead. Because they all came from money anyway. All of these people came from money, influence, and power. So yeah, shitty things happen sometimes, and that sucks. You don't have to grow up to be a bad person. And I think the greater story here is that Snow is a bad person at his core, that no matter how much good happens to him, he continues to be a bad person. He actually does not learn any valuable life lessons from anything other than to be hateful, which honestly, that's not a good book to me. That is a frustrating read, and it is the longest book in the entire series. For fucking what? This felt like a very long fan fiction about somebody who really wanted to make us all simp for Snow, or show us that everybody has a backstory and maybe that's why they behave the way they do. Sure, my backstory should have made me a villain and it fucking didn't. I know lots of people whose backstories should have made them a villain and it fucking didn't. And the people whose backstories did make them a villain, I don't feel bad for them. They're bad people. That's just kind of how it works. And honestly, if you started in power, lost some power because of a war, came back into power because you felt it was rightfully yours, I have even less empathy for you. And that's kind of how this book reads to me. It might not have been the overarching story. Am I still going to watch the movie? Absolutely. I think that the actors will do it some justice, and I think that the actors will make it tie in a little bit better. Also, because when I rewatched the Hunger Games movies after having reread the books, I did find some plot line differences and behavioral differences that the way that it translated in movie versus book was very different. And so I think that that will also do some interesting things with the movie versus the book when it does come out. So obviously I'm going to watch it, but I did not enjoy the book. I think it's a trash book. I've said it repeatedly. I've probably, in whatever wrap-up when I very first read the book, I probably said it then too. But that's how I feel about it. I cannot stand the book. They could have done a better job and they didn't. And, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Again, I want to know about Tigress. I want to know why Tigress became Snow's lovable, loving cousin in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then in the very last book, helps the rebellion, like, against him. I want to know what happened from here to there, and why she went through all of these surgeries and looks the way that she does and everything. Like, I want Tigress's story. I don't want Snow's story. I don't care about Snow's story. So that's how I feel about that. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I think this is a good wrap-up, a good place to stop. Sorry that I definitely felt way more heated about this than I thought I did. But I'm gonna go. I hope that you enjoyed this video where I clearly just wanted to rant about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes for like 5 minutes, but I know this wrap-up was short and sweet, but so was this month, so here we are. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Comment down below if you've read any of these books that I talked about as my top and my worst book, and let me know your thoughts if you've read the prequel, the Hunger Games prequel, and what your thoughts were. I'm actually really interested to know, like, maybe somebody read it and had a different opinion than me, or a different, the way that it came across to them may have been different from me. I don't know, but I would really like to know. If you didn't enjoy this video, I'm sorry, let me know also in the comments down below how I can make it better for you. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every single week, unless I am taking a break. I think that's it, and my camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.